Videos to become more familiar with how Carnegie generates reports from the Mathia software. And here on our MyCL homepage, you can hit reports and it'll take us into reports. And we'll see a lot of different details here. I'm going to switch over here in a second to a demo account where Carnegie has inputted some data for training purposes. Because right here, when we get into the data for Dublin, you won't see anything because we don't have any students working on Mathia right now. But you'll be able to select your school here and your classes, and then you'll see 4 different reports. These reports and the view is going to change. Carnegie's going to update that in the fall. Once that's updated, I'll come back in and rework this video, but the information is going to be the same. So I'm going to flip over to that dummy account with the demo data. So here I am in that, and I'm in District A Junior High School. I'm going to pick Course 3, Period 1, and we're going to start with the applause report. The applause report is kind of, actually I'm going to switch to a different class. The applause report is kind of all the data here we're getting doesn't look to be very good. So I'm going to get a little bit more average data. So this is a good example. We have 21 students on track with the applause score. The applause score is not percentage kids are getting it right. It's not anything other than a score that Carnegie is constantly calculating about how well students are doing and what they're kind of projected to be at the end of the school year. This is a full year's worth of data, which is why you're seeing a current and projected being the same thing. You'll see kids accumulate applause points as they go further into the curriculum and do better. So you'll see a current and a projected. Anything with that projected being over 70% is going to put the student on track to be to have finished the course and really done well. 50 to 70 here is going to be approaching, and then students off track would be here in the red. I wonder if I change this date a little bit earlier in the school year, if I can see a different current versus projected. Okay, so this is all dummy data, so this isn't going to kind of work as I was hoping. But we can also pick into a specific student here, and we can see that they're on track, they're above the class mean, how well they were doing at different points. So here you can kind of see this student was green, had a 37% applause score at the time. There would have been a projected applause score. And you can go ahead and figure out what this student is doing and see how well they're doing. Another report that I really like to look at is a session report, and here we can specifically select a segment of time. So here we're going from the 22nd of January to the 28th. So you could say, hey, Monday to Friday, what have you done on Mathia? And you can go ahead and scroll down and see how much time each student has completed, problems, workspaces, hints, errors. This is a great way to kind of figure out whether or not you need to confer with a student, pull a student over, ask a student what they're doing on Mathia, what they're struggling with, to have an individualized conversation. A standards report's an awesome report to figure out how they're doing on specific standards as a whole, or you can always drill into the specific student by selecting a student here on the left. You can see within a specific standard here, you can click on it and it will open up and you can see how well on average students are doing. I'm going to pick a kid here so we can see that in geometry they're approaching proficiency, but in ratios and proportions they are proficient, and you can see the number of progress on different workspaces and where they need remediation. It's really a lovely report. You can also go down to a student detail report, and we'll pull this up for all kids here first, and we'll see how this looks. And here we can go ahead and for B Camden here, we can see what he's done on specific workspaces, whether they've selected the step by step, what their performance was, what the time was. So here on displays of numerical data, I'm seeing the student only spent 2 minutes on the unit review, 47 minutes, really struggled on creating and interpreting STEM plots, but they did end up completing it, though their performance was low. Whenever you see promoted, and you're going to see a significant amount of time on that, that means a student has really struggled on it, but at some point the system says, hey, you need to go to the next thing. They haven't completed it, they've been promoted. So that's a little bit of a difference. And there's just a vast amount of data here that we can get into and learn about what our students are doing on specific standards and on specific math topics. I'd encourage you, as your students are working in Mathia, to take a peek at this and to sit with your PLC or your instructional coach to really talk about what sort of instructional implications this data has.